Hey, Divine Leader. So grateful and appreciative that you are here and you are in for a treat as we dive into one of my favorite topics, the Spiritual Millionairess leadership codes to make bank, change lives, and be radiant. Now, if you're here, I know that you are a leader of the new paradigm of the golden age of unity consciousness, of the evolution in consciousness, and then you are also a energetic leader, a multidimensional leader. And so I'm really delighted to be diving into these leadership codes that my guides, Thoth and the Council of Light, have shared with me. And I'm happy to be sharing them with you here. And before we dive into those leadership codes, let's unpack a little bit more what I mean by the spiritual millionairess. Now, about 10 years ago or a decade ago, this term, the spiritual millionairess, really dropped in for me. And as you most likely know by now, I've been in the healing arts since the early 90s, and I've been on a spiritual path for a long time, like a lot of you. And there was this deep desire that I had to also grow into more financial wealth. And one of the things I love about this term spiritual millionairess is it really is an illusion lie buster. There's like a lot of perception shifts, a lot of illusion lies that get called out here with some universal truth. So the first is that spiritual in the old paradigm, or the illusion lie, equals broke or broken. And it's just not true. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate as well about this topic of the spiritual millionairess is that not having resources on the physical plane can be one of the ways that survival consciousness or separation consciousness is continuing on in an unchecked way. And some of the most powerful transformational leaders that I know may have been kind of stuck by that old paradigm. And so it's crazy to say that being spiritual equals that you are broke or that you're broken. It's just not true. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. And that actually your higher consciousness is an asset, especially in the new paradigm or new earth. And so the next paradigm shift is really embedded in that word millionairess. And which is that paradigm shift that men are millionaires, and that being a millionaire, or what I call now seven-figure spiritual leader, is not for women, it's for men. And as you may know, I have a double major in psychology and women's studies, and am really also passionate about being a model as a powerful woman in leadership. And so, of course, women can be millionairesses. They can be spiritual millionairesses. And I remember when I first started my own journey on the seven-figure path, I knew men, or I read books like The Millionaire Next Door, or I knew men that were millionaires, and it didn't relate. It didn't relate to me in the same way, because there's a different kind of energy around the feminine principle of being a millionairess. And even when I was seeing powerful women that also were wealthy financially, they often were getting there, and this included me as well, from an overly imbalanced masculine energy of overworking, overdoing, tons of action. And so this spiritual millionairess, and what I continue to expand upon was like the blissful, peaceful, spiritual millionairess is really what we're talking about here, which also includes the subtitle of this transmission, which is how to make bank, which is the money part, change lives, which there's, to me, a natural component to being spiritual that we also want to give and to transform and to make a difference, to be a difference maker on the planet, and then being radiant in the process. So I talk about this as well. The Magdalenes talk about this as well in terms of multi-D abundance. And so now that I've unpacked the spiritual millionairess and what I mean by that, I just invite you to see if any of these illusion lies are running in your system. Do you sense that you're carrying from the higher consciousness community or the woo side of you, that there are any of these overlays or distortions that means, well, if you're spiritual, then you're not material, or you shouldn't receive money, or you can receive some but not a lot, or any of those kinds of things. And then also, if there is any of that illusion lie, whether you regardless of gender, that to have money, to allow money, the being of light of money, to pool in your environment is somehow has to be like the old paradigm of power over, or a ton of action. And of course, it's as leaders, we're committed, we take inspired action, and there is effort. And yet it's the difference between being overextended, overworking, and over efforting to more of this feminine way of also allowing money to pool. So you can probably tell I'm super passionate about this, and the guides the last few years especially have been really inviting me to come out into the forefront, to be a model of somebody who's super woo and also very grounded in entrepreneurship and all those things, and really model that, yes, it's possible. And the more radiant we are, also the more expansive the process is. So I am also very much a proponent of, what if you can expand your consciousness and your wealth together in a way that then just creates this infinity loop. So the essence of the spiritual millionairess and the seven-figure spiritual leader is very much about also leadership. It's about energetic leadership, that you're leading from your vibration, you're leading from your energy, and you're also leading yourself in the process. And that the leadership codes that have come forward really also amplify the leadership energy in a very new paradigm way. So without further ado, I will bring in Thoth and the Council of Light to share with you about these leadership codes that really cultivate this triple flame of money, making a difference, and also being radiant energy. Hello, dear ones. This is Thoth, the Money Muse panel, the Council of Light, Metatron, and many beings of light and love, including the Magdalenes, moving more into the forefront of this divine transmission. The first leadership code is Innovate. The old paradigm of separation consciousness, of survival consciousness, very much was a sort of one size fits all kind of cookie cutter way of living, that to not stand out, to go with the majority, that there's this idea in the old paradigm that you're taught to model, you're taught to copy, you're taught to fly under the radar to stay safe. And the new paradigm is very much about innovating. It's about pioneering. It's about really also being leaders in the evolution and consciousness, where you are bringing forward that which hasn't existed thus far, that which we work with our clients in divine transmissions around, really cultivating your spiritual leadership, your unique legacy work. And so it may have been that you have your training, and that's important. We're not saying to just throw it all out, yet you may have learned a certain modality, or you've gone to school, and in those kind of cases, you're learning something from someone else. And so that's not what we mean by innovate. What we mean by innovate is that you're creating, you're pioneering, you're forging, you're on the leading wave, you're creating beyond what currently exists. And this is also why we use this word legacy, that you are leading your industry, you're leading what it is, you're leading the shift in consciousness, and you're innovating beyond what has existed before. And the old paradigm illusion lies say, well, it's not safe. It's better to just kind of water down whatever it is that you're here to do and dilute it and teach your mentor's work. And there's also developmental stages for that. As Danielle has had her career path for quite a while, a part of her path was where she learned massage and then she taught massage. She learned Reiki, then she taught Reiki. She learned other modalities and she taught those modalities. And then through her direct partnership with Source and us, the Ascended Masters, the guides, the councils, we partnered with her to begin to birth her unique bodies of work. And so when you're innovating, that's also when your signature energy is the most vibrant and vital and like you, because you're in a place where you are really in your unique signature energy or your vibration. So innovating, innovate, that is a leadership code. And we know that may seem easier said than done, that may feel vulnerable to be innovating something. And yet it actually is quite energetically whole and complete. And so your system will feel very strong when you are innovating. And innovating not just for the sake of innovating, yet from that deep calling, from that deep knowing. And that you may notice this just as when we work with clients to create their unique body of work-based business, then things really start to take off. This is also what Danielle experienced in her path of becoming a spiritual multimillionairess, that there was this shift where things were good. She was working full time in her business without having a job or any of those things for many years, and yet they weren't amazing, where she was changing many lives, or she was really receiving more money, or there was also not the same radiance in her system. And in when we work with clients as well, they may come in and they're feeling a little stale, or a little, even if they've been working on their body of work for a while, it's ready to go legacy, it's ready to go opus level, it's ready to be innovated. So that's one of the keys of leading, is that you also say, okay, here we're going this direction, we're leading a global movement, where we're going in this direction. And not in the sense that there's the old hierarchy of leading and following, that we are very much about the energetic knowing and standard of divine to divine, of equality, of equanimity, that we are here to partner with others, and you always know what's best for you, and coming together from that place of, yes, you are leading with your vibration. And from our perspective, especially those that have been on a path of higher consciousness for a while, a path of spirituality, you have things in your toolbox that other individuals don't have yet. And so you can be leading with those vibrations, with those knowings, with the universal truths and ways of being in the world, which are loving and neutral, and there's just this higher consciousness where you're not getting bogged down as much as somebody who is just beginning their awakening process. So that's also what we're talking about when we're talking about leadership code, is that you have your own unique way of leading, and leadership looks very different for each individual. That it doesn't mean that you're always the one that's talking the loudest in the room, or you have your own way of innovating. Just as we're here now, this is an innovative way of us being together, that it's not only Danielle that's sharing this message about the spiritual millionairess, it's also us, that we are being divinely transmitted as beings of light, in light, with you as a being of light in form or incarnate. That's an innovation, to be partnering with guides, with light beings from a place of equanimity, from a place of sovereignty. That's an innovation. So that's one example of innovate. And you're innovating something. You have a unique way that you see the world, what we speak about in the Tablets of Light book, of your visionary heart. You have a vision that you carry. It's also very much connected to your purpose and to your mission. So the next leadership code is co-create. Now, in the old paradigm, there's very much this do-it-alone mentality. There's very much this also lone wolf, that there can be also that fear when you're leading and you're innovating, that then you're going to be on the leading wave and you're on the edge of the branch, and there's nobody there and it's quite lonely, when actually it's not. You have a community of individuals that the more you're leading energetically, vibrationally, through your words, your acts, your deeds, then the more you are fulfilled by that, and then magnetizing to you those optimal individuals in the physical plane. So the old paradigm is very much about, this is my money, this is my business, this is my work, this is, and trying to build the solo entrepreneur in a very solo way. And the new paradigm and this second leadership code that we're sharing is really about co-creation. It's really about coming together, and the shift from competition and fear of not enough and all of those survival consciousness things, to co-creation, knowing that there's enough to go around, knowing that there can be this win, 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 win. And we really love partnering from this stance and co-creating with clients, that we don't want followers in the sense of we're leading and you're simply following. We're here to co-create with leaders. So co-creation, to get there. Now we're sharing these codes, and yet you may also want to reach out to us if you want to go deeper into them or have more support around them, because again, sometimes it's easier said than done, and yet you can have access as well to these energies and awareness of what they are already immediately right here and right now. So co-creation. And co-creation works really well because then you're not only accessing your pool of knowledge or skill sets or individuals that you know, there's a wider accessibility that begins to happen. And with the global communication on the internet, there's really a lot of possibility around leading from co-creation. And so leadership code 1 is innovate, 2 is co-create, and 3 is multidimensionality. And multidimensionality is that you're leading from your energy, you're leading from your vibration, you're leading from your field, you're leading multidimensionally, you're leading from your higher self, your divine self, you're telepathically communicating with others, and that also draws to you those perfect opportunities, experiences, individuals. And so in the case of the 7-figure spiritual leader, where you are in business or you have you're aspiring to be even more conscious and also to have even more wealth, so that you can be an even larger contribution to the evolution in consciousness, then there really is this awareness of these new ways of being that make you very magnetic, and then you're vibrationally visible. And so those ideal perfect match, what we call divine appointed clients, they see you, they find you, they also are very much clear about what you're stand for, what you're leading about. There's not this watered down version that's happening. Okay, so as we are wrapping up here, we just invite you to close your eyes for a moment, and we're inviting you to tune into the vibration of the spiritual millionairess, this feminine way that's also in right relationship with the masculine energy, the sacred union between the two, this real conscious and abundant being. And to imagine that you're meeting your spiritual millionairess self, the version of you that has oodles of financial abundance, so that you're coming from an energy of surplus in your service, not an energy of neediness, and that you're changing lives, you're leading, you're contributing, you're innovating, you're co-creating. Maybe even you are creating job opportunities for others by having your own team. And is always a justice to you. And that you're also radiant in the process. So as you're connecting to your spiritual millionairess self, and you are aware that this being that is you is in these 3 leadership codes: innovating, co-creating, and being multidimensional. Just notice any sensations, receive any guidance or wisdom, any messages. Good, and then bring your awareness back, connecting again to your body, knowing that you have welcomed in a greater octave of spiritual leadership and also financial abundance. All is light and love, and we are all. Danielle here, moving more into the forefront, and so delighted to have shared space with you in this Spiritual Millionairess transmission, and extending love and appreciation for your contribution to the evolution in consciousness. I know there's a lot that was shared here vibrationally and also conceptually that can really make a difference in your life. So I'd invite you to tune into this again, to even take some notes. What are your biggest jewels? And to just notice when those illusion lies pop up, or even when your community may be saying to you, well, like I remember when I started and I first started sharing and marketing and inviting individuals into my program, like there were those friends that I had at the time that were like, well, you can't do that. You're supposed to give your work away for free, or how can you use invitations or talk about your work in a certain way. And I remember that feeling of possibly feeling like kicked out of the tribe, or being ostracized. And at the same time, also just this inner knowing that for me, my path and my mission and my movement are very much tied into like what I talk about, being the wealthy woo leader, both of these two together. And as both of these are together, then we're able to make a bigger difference in the world. And so there may be experiences that you've had in your past where when you've stepped into greater leadership, some individuals in your life, there's a natural attrition. They fall away, or they mirror whatever old paradigm illusion lie you may still have running in your system. And so for me, for example, and also I see this a lot with our clients, is that there were so many lives where we took spiritual vows of relinquishing the material goods, or not using our magic for personal gain, or also a kind of spiritual slavery in some ways, where it's like we were doing the work and yet somebody else was making the profit, or getting the gain. And so there's so many of those lifetimes, alternate lifetimes, current lifetimes, where there has been the experience of the absolute devotion to the connection with the divine, God, Goddess, Great Spirit, all that there is, which is absolutely, for me, and I know for so many of us, number one exploration in this lifetime. And those lifetimes where it seemed like the path to get closer to God, to get closer to source, to get closer to the divine, was to go into the temple, or to go into the cave, or to relinquish the material world. And so there can be imprints about that, with that. And I know, because you're here, that you have already done so much inner work. And that's where the leadership gets to decide, where you say, okay, so what? That was then, and this is now. And you have the power and the potency in your now moment to also lead what else is possible. And to just imagine how much more your gifts and talents and your wisdom and the difference that you're here to make on the Earth Star can be experienced when you are also materially supported, when your mission has support. It has support of money, it has support of other individuals. There's this real surplus kind of energy. And so one of my oracular visions that I carry is that those amazing, highly spiritual beings that I know and that I am coming into contact with, and that are a part of my divine family of healers and shamans and practitioners and teachers, and that we're leading also from a place of abundance, because the survival mechanism can just be such a distraction. And when I've seen this time and time again, where someone's really conscious and really dialed in and has amazing work to share, that, and yet the financial piece isn't in place, and being grounded on the earth and taking action, and also having some of these kind of containers in business or in work in place, then all of that wisdom, it doesn't get shared. It's like a tree that grows oranges, and the oranges drop off the tree, and then those oranges just go back into the earth, and then the next cycle happens, and the next cycle happens. And so a part of my oracular vision is really those that are called, because it's a choice in the spiritual community, are leading as not only having all of this higher consciousness wisdom, yet also having the physical plane nourishment and support and abundance to continue to invest in yourself, to continue to have your business grow, to really be changing more lives, because you're also radiant. You're also in a place of what Thoth and the Council of Light often speak about, all is well, now what? And so this all is well, now what kind of energy is really powerful and potent. And another part of my oracular vision that I'm inviting you to tune into is also for those of you, perhaps the the millionairess side is really there, and the money's there, and you have the financial abundance, whatever it is. I know not everyone wants to be a millionairess. It's also what's aligned for you and your mission. And yet there may be that sense of actually the absence of some of this spiritual side, or the higher consciousness, or how to connect with your guides, or how to heal your body, or how to use energy, or some of the gifts that those that I was just talking about on the spiritual side of things have. And that's where there's more of a leading wave of growth that's calling you forward. And what both of these really have in common, and kind of the secret sauce about being that spiritual millionairess, is also the energy of love, the energy of divine love. We circle back to the original focus of the spiritual millionairess, of how to make bank and money, and to change lives, and to be radiant. That love is the key, and the essence of love, and having the essence of love is really what brings that all together. It's the bridge, or it's the glue, it's the come from, it's the origin place. And when there isn't the vibration of love, which is a high frequency, love is one of the most inclusive energies. It's one of the most receptive energies. When your heart is open, you're radiant, you're in a receptive place. If you're watching your back or in a survival mode, then the system contracts. Or if you're not feeling like you are worthy or lovable, or you're trying to prove your love, even by changing lives or making money, or trying to improve your energy, then there begins to become this distortion. Because really what I'm talking about, and what the guides, the team, the council are talking about, is separation consciousness creates a perpetual state of separation, where you're always separate from something. You're always separate from wealth. You're always separate from radiance. You're always separate from making a bigger difference in the world. And then even when there becomes greater wealth or leadership or whatever it is, there's still the sense of separate, which perpetuates that illusion lie that you're broken. And so love, and divine love, and being connected, loving yourself, it is an act of love to receive financial abundance. It is an act of love to have financial abundance. It's an act of love to circulate financial abundance. And it's also part of why I'm so passionate about this is women, spiritual wealthy women, receiving and having and circulating money in ways that also can change lives. It's very expansive. It's very also a way to continuing to innovate the evolution in consciousness. And so I want to share with you an opportunity, if you're feeling called, to continue to work with me and Thoth and the Magdalenes and the Council of Light. We have one of the Magdalene codes of love, and there are 20 codes of love. That there's the whole Magdalene Code program that's usually only available if you join the whole program. And yet the Magdalene's been guiding me to offer the opportunity to access one of the Magdalene codes of love. And the one of the Magdalene codes of love that is being placed on the altar is the birthright of love, code of love. And like in this transmission today, the team talked about the codes, the leadership codes, and shared a little bit about them. And yet they there wasn't the full activation of the code. There wasn't the full ignition of the code. Now, I just can't help it but transmit. I know that if you're here, I want to give you as much value as I possibly can. And so, of course, you got an energetic taster of each code, an energetic transmission of each code. And yet in this 7-figure expansion codes bundle that we have available, there is this birthright of love, code of love, which is actually where you ignite this birthright. And when this birthright is in place of love, then so much of the old paradigm illusion lies around having more fall away, because love is a given. And then you're not trying to prove that you're lovable by whatever you're feeling separate from in the now moment. So there's this really vibey channeled transmission to ignite your birthright of love, code of love. And this is crazy cool, because usually this is only available again in paid programs, and it's really my ascended mastery, which is energetic remote work, energy vortexes. And there's also a multi-D millionairess night pod, which is another way of calling spiritual millionairess. I like to call it different things, the spiritual millionairess, the multi-D millionairess. So that's that leadership code where you're turning on more of your capacity to receive in many dimensions, not only trying to receive an ocean through the eye of the needle. And that is a night pod, which is a completely remote, bespoke session for you that runs from 8 p.m. your time zone to 8 a.m. your time zone, that I and the Magdalenes and the council create with your higher self, long distance. So there's no having to get on a Zoom or no call. It's all remote. And the night pods are phenomenal, and people have just had crazy cool results from the night pods of one woman woke up and she received an inheritance and became a multimillionairess overnight. There have been others that just on the money side of things have received, like one woman, a friend of hers had a dream about her that she was guided to give her $10,000. And so she just had $10,000 in her account. And not only on the financial, those are specific, so they're easy to talk about, but really the multi-D millionairess night pod, it's also about softening into this feminine way of being in right relationship, to be feeling safe to receive. So if you're feeling called, I'd invite you to pick up our 7-figure expansion codes and continue to work together in these energies. And I know that you'll know if it's aligned for you, if it's a match for you, if you vibrationally recognize that it's for you. Great. So thank you so much for being here. I am very much celebrating you and your contribution to the evolution in consciousness. And really, just as we're wrapping up, inviting you to contemplate, how is it that you can innovate today? How can you co-create today? How can you be even more multi-dimensional? Because it takes all of us to be shifting consciousness together. So sending you much love and appreciation. And thank you for tuning in. Bye for now.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Visit newearth1.com.